A late autumn afternoon in Berlin cast a dull, ashen hue over the cobblestone streets. Damp, chilly air seeped through every crevice, carrying the musty scent of rotting leaves and exhaust fumes. In the Friedrichshain district, an old building stood with a rusted iron sign dangling above the entrance, Iron Forge GYM. Inside, the sound of gloves striking heavy bags echoed like the beat of metal drums, thud, 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 blending with the rush of labored breathing and the sharp smells of leather, sweat, and industrial cleaner. Elena Moreau pushed open the door and stepped in. She was petite, no taller than 1.58 meters, her slender frame swallowed up by a faded hoodie. A worn canvas backpack hung loosely off one shoulder, and in her hand she loosely held a plastic water bottle, its label reading Équipe de France JJB 2018, now peeling and barely clinging to the translucent surface. The lenses of her black-rimmed glasses caught the fluorescent light, glinting like shards of glass. Elena looked at no one. She simply walked along the wall, out of the path of flying punches, and sat quietly on a bench near the lockers. No one paid her any attention. Until they did. In the center of the gym, a group of fighters were shadowboxing. A blonde woman in a bright pink sports top was posing in front of the mirror, Clara Hoffman, a familiar face from flashy fitness videos on TikTok. When Clara noticed Elena walk in quiet demeanor, eyes downcast, hoodie worn thin, she smirked. Turning to a young trainer nearby, she spoke loudly, in English with a German accent. "Here to get a selfie with the hot guys, maybe? Yoga class is downstairs, darling." A few giggles followed. An Italian guy, Marco Vitali, hair slicked back with gel, was adjusting a camera. He turned it toward Elena and muttered, "Check out that librarian vibe." He zoomed in slightly, capturing her faded sneakers, then panned up to the glasses reflecting the cold overhead lights. Elena didn't react. She simply removed her backpack, sat upright, placed her bottle beside her. When Clara glanced over again, their eyes met. No hostility. No fear. Just stillness. It shone her technique hoot. "I'm just here to observe technique." Elena's German was crisp and fluent. Clara paused, nobody spoke like a tourist that well. But then she scoffed, turned away, and resumed her live stream. From the corner of the mat, Dieter Kraus, the head coach, watched from a distance. A lean, buzz-cut man in a gray sweatshirt with the IFG logo on the chest. A former European grappling champion known for disliking those who came just to film or show off. But he noticed Elena not because she was new, but because of how she was watching. She didn't stare wide-eyed like a curious beginner. She tracked every stance, every hook, every shift of the hips like she was analyzing. After a while, a young student struggled with his jab, retracting his shoulder too soon, weakening the punch. Elena stood quietly, unnoticed, and gestured for him to stop. She spoke softly, pointed to his shoulder joint, then stepped back 2 paces and motioned for him to try again. He threw the jab. This time it landed cleanly on the smaller bag, his shoulder aligned with the axis. Elena gave a subtle nod, then returned to her seat. Dieter saw it all. When the session ended, he approached her. "You didn't sign up for today. But if you'd like to try a light grappling class on Wednesday, we've got a visitor slot." Elena looked up. "I could try. If it's no trouble." Dieter nodded. "Elena Moreau. Unusual name. French. But I live here." She didn't say more. Didn't mention she was once on the national team. Didn't speak of the torn ligament that ended her career. Didn't say that she now teaches self-defense to young girls at a community center in Kreuzberg. On her way out, Elena paused by the mirror near the exit. She ran a finger over the old sticker on her water bottle, the logo of the French team, then tucked it back into her bag. Behind her, the sound of fists still rang out in steady rhythm. She was no one here. Not yet. But that didn't stop her. Wednesday. Berlin was colder than usual. A thin layer of snow had begun to dust the rooftops like a fine coat of white sugar. Inside Iron Forge Gym, the cold of winter had no place under the pale neon lights, only heat, drawn from bodies grappling on tatami mats and the steady whistle blowing between rounds. Elena stepped inside, still wearing her faded hoodie. But this time she walked straight to the front desk. No hesitation. No glancing around. "I'm Elena Moreau. Signed up for the trial grappling session." The receptionist, a young woman with tousled brown hair and a windbreaker bearing the IFG logo, flipped through the registration sheet, then nodded. "Room 3. Keep it light. No full force attacks. No neck cranks." "I know," Elena said, quiet but certain. The grappling room was smaller than the main striking area, but no less intense. 2 pairs were already sparring in the center. Sweat glistened under white lights. Every hook, shift in position, or foot trap came with sharp exhales and the dry smack of skin against mat. Adrian Becker was stretching out his legs. Tall, solid, built like an old-world European tank. Veins ran down his biceps, abs taut, a lion tattoo stretched across his shoulder blade. Dieter nodded toward him. Adrian, this is Elena. Give her a light round. 2 minutes each. Adrian raised an eyebrow. Another trial student, he said in French with a teasing lilt. Careful, hug me wrong and you might break your shoulder. Elena responded in French smoother than he expected. In that case, I'll try to stay in one piece. Adrian chuckled, but his eyes narrowed, studying her more closely now. They bowed, dropped into stance. Elena didn't rush. She waited. Adrian immediately tried a snap down, a basic move to lower the opponent's posture. But Elena dropped her hips instantly, keeping balance. She stepped to the left, transitioning so quickly that Adrian lost his footing for a split second. She baited him, left arm seemingly exposed. Adrian took it, lunging in to grip her upper arm and press down with his shoulder. That was the moment. Elena rotated her hips, shifted her axis, slid her right leg around his waist. A Kosoto Gake, outer foot hook. It used leverage and gravity, not brute force. Adrian crashed to the mat. A breathy gasp rippled across the room. The other students paused, watching. Elena didn't release. She immediately moved to Adrian's back, hooked his arm over her shoulder, and began to secure in Americana, a classic shoulder lock. Adrian resisted. Once. Twice. Then slapped the mat. Tap out. Dieter glanced at his watch. 0:38 seconds. Adrian lay on his back, chest heaving. Elena released immediately, took a step back, and bowed. Thank you, she said in German. Adrian sat up, eyes wider than before. He stared at her for a long moment, then offered a hand. Clean technique. Not sure if you set a trap, or if I walked straight into it. Elena shook his hand, a small smile forming, barely noticeable. Off to the side, Marco Vitali, the Italian vlogger, stood by his camera. He wasn't live streaming this time. Just observing. She didn't land that by accident, he muttered. He made a note in his phone. Elena Moro, real name? Check old grappling records in France. After class, Dieter approached her. No pat on the back. No smile. I don't like being misled. Elena looked at him in silence. You used to compete professionally? I did. But I'm not in that world anymore. Her voice was quiet. Neither apologetic nor defensive. Why didn't you say so from the start? I didn't come here to talk. Then what did you come for? Elena turned her eyes to the large mirror where Clara was practicing low kicks, her leg alignment completely off, knee locked too straight. I came to remember. Elena stepped out of the room and into the open air. Snow had started falling. Flakes landed gently on her bangs, melting quickly from her body's warmth. Inside, Adrian was still catching his breath. Dieter looked over at Marco. She's coming back. Marco raised an eyebrow. You think so? Dieter didn't blink. I don't think. I know. Thursday arrived wrapped in the thick cold of early winter. Night fell early. Berlin burrowed deeper into its heavy coats. People hurried down the streets, eyes fixed straight ahead as though trying to dodge the mist of their own breath. Iron Forge Gym blazed with light. Thursday meant open spar, no hierarchy, no strings attached. Anyone could step onto the mat and try their luck. Amateur crews, semi-pros, fitness trendsetters, influencers all crushed together inside one seething bundle of energy. Elena Moro sat at the edge, still in her faded hoodie. Her glasses had slipped a fraction down her nose. She was rewrapping the tape around her wrists, her battered water bottle resting against the bench. No one spoke to her, but glances did, quick, whispering, phones tilted for stealthy clips. Not many had witnessed yesterday's grappling session, yet the rumor was already circling. Clara Hoffman swept past, bright pink sports top today, paired with leggings trimmed in reflective silver. She smirked loud enough for everyone to hear. Taking more notes? Or filming a From Loser to Fighter vlog? Her friends burst out laughing. One zoomed in on Elena from afar, adding a silly filter. Elena didn't answer. She was watching a pair sparring footwork, eyes steady, as though x-raying every step. Then he arrived. Lucas Koenig, semi-pro MMA fighter, online phenomenon with 900K followers across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Every training session of his was a performance. He strode into cheers, flung a Gucci hoodie onto a chair, tattoos spilling from neck to spine, fists popping into palms. Iron Forge, what's the show today? He roared. Or is everybody just shadowboxing for the camera? Dieter glanced over, no intervention. Open spar was a place to prove yourself or break yourself. Lucas scanned the room and spotted Elena, one still point inside the noise. He smirked, pitching his voice so all could hear. Who's the quiet girl from yesterday? I hear big stories. Anyone checked them yet? A chorus erupted. Someone shouted, "Put her in with Lucas." One voice, then many. Elena remained seated, fingertips on her bottle, glasses misting with her breath. Dieter folded his arms at ringside, eyes moving from Lucas to Elena. Lucas chuckled, lifting his gloves. 1 minute, fair and square. No heavy shots. Just technical sparring. Elena rose. No protest. No bravado. 1 minute is fine, she said. The crowd pressed in. Marco Vitali fired up a live stream. Phone chimes rang like school bells, everyone wanted to see. Lucas bowed and bumped gloves. Elena did neither, she merely slid half a step back, dropped into a low, guarded stance. The bell rang. Lucas lunged in with a probing jab, quick, accurate, but light on commitment. Elena tilted her head aside, right foot gliding as if on wind. Left hook from Lucas, heavier this time. Elena rotated her hips, slipped under, drew back. No block, no counter. Some spectators jeered, "Can't score if you keep running." But Dieter squinted. Lucas grew impatient. He charged, firing a combo jab, low kick, feinted clinch. The instant his left foot planted near hers, Elena pivoted, hooked his leg, an ashigarami sweep, and yanked his balance away. He toppled. Before his back hit the mat, she transitioned, legs snapping around his neck, hips cutting the perfect angle, triangle choke. 10 seconds ticked. Lucas flailed, clawing for space, but air was scarce. Tap, 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 his own palm drummed the mat. Elena released at once, rolled clear, and stood as though nothing had happened. Lucas lay flat, gasping, eyes wide, coughing. Clock time, 0:52 seconds. The gym fell silent. Only the ceiling fan and Marco's livestream remained, the red live icon blinking 14.3K viewers. Elena returned to her seat, cleaned her glasses, and sat as if she had never stepped on the mat. No victory pose? No thanks. Just 1 minute gone? Marco looked at Dieter. Who is she really? Dieter didn't answer. He simply watched Elena as though paging through a long-buried book whose leaves were finally turning over. Behind the crowd, Clara pressed her lips tight, deleted the mocking story she'd just filmed, and said nothing. Several fighters who had laughed moments before now regarded Elena differently, no longer curious, no longer dismissive. Leaving the mat, Elena walked the corridor. Cold wind slid through a cracked window near the stairs. She pulled up her hood, fingers brushing the peeling sticker on her water bottle. She didn't need anyone to validate her. She hadn't come to win, she'd come to remember who she was. And she was still here. The next morning Berlin was still bitterly cold, yet something in the city's air felt different. Overnight, the sparring clip of Elena and Lucas Koenig had spread like wildfire. From German fight forums to global Reddit threads, from TikTok to Instagram reels, everyone was talking about the small woman in the faded hoodie who'd forced the Lionheart to submit in under a minute. The titles varied. The Quiet Storm, who is she? Girl in glasses chokes out MMA bro in 52 seconds. She didn't say a word. She didn't need to. Views passed 2 million before dawn. Comment threads ran for thousands of lines. Someone please find her identity. She never bragged. That's the scariest part. This is real martial art, not a show. Never judge a book by its cover. Elena Moro read none of it. At 7 a.m. Friday, she unlocked the Kreuzberg Community Center, fluorescent tubes casting pale yellow over scarred wooden floors and mats with frayed edges. The kids were already there, chattering as they kicked off their shoes, 15 of them mostly girls aged 9 to 14. Turkish, Syrian, Polish, Vietnamese roots, each child carried a story of being pushed out of a comfort zone. Miss Moro called Sarah a brown-haired girl with tight curls. Elena smiled. She needed no microphone, no projector, only herself and the techniques she had once learned, once fought with, once forgotten, and now remembered. Class began with the usual warm-up, wrist circles, base posture drills, practicing balance under a pull, learning to resist without brute strength. Technique is the body's intelligence, she said in her low, even voice. If you think, you'll be slow. If you understand, you'll react. Yasmin, a Kurdish girl, struggled to hold a knee shield position. Elena stepped over, silent, laying a light hand on the child's shoulder, adjusting her center. You were stronger than you think, Yasmin. When class ended and the children were rolling up mats, a man entered by the side door, flour-dusted apron, a carved wooden plaque in hand. James, the janitor turned volunteer carpenter. Miss Moreau, he said with a quiet grin. Some of the parents chipped in. I just did the carving. Elena accepted the small board. The letters were chiseled deep and clean. Elena Moreau, strength in silence. She stared at it for a long moment, fingertips brushing the grooves. She only nodded. Thank you. James nodded back and left. Outside, snowflakes drifted down. That afternoon, Elena was wiping mats when Dieter Kraus appeared unannounced in the doorway, a heavy leather coat, knit cap, a paper bag under his arm. Passed by. Needed to give you this, he said. Elena straightened, drying her hands on her trousers. Dieter handed her the bag. Inside was an envelope stamped. Berlin-Brandenburg Regional Grappling Federation. Invitation, Elena Moro, Guest of Honor, Winter Grappling Championships. They want you there. Speech or Guest of Honor seat, Dieter said. I told them you might decline. Elena didn't answer at once. She watched the children still laughing outside the window, afternoon light sparkling off drifting snow. I don't like cameras. I know, Dieter replied. But sometimes people need to see what we've forgotten. She gave a slight nod, neither promise nor refusal. Dieter turned to go. At the door he added, Lucas sends his apologies. He reposted the video himself with the caption, I got schooled. She's the real deal. Elena didn't smile. Her grip only tightened around the wooden plaque. That evening the center closed early for a snowstorm. Elena stayed alone, checking gloves, cleaning mats, jotting next week's lesson plans. She hung the plaque on the wall beside the lockers. Beneath it she pinned a handwritten note from Sarah, the marker scrawl uneven. Miss Moro, I want to be strong like you. But still gentle like you. Elena sat, removed her glasses, wiped them slowly. On the table her old water bottle stood 1/3 full, its sticker almost completely peeled away. She stared at it for a moment, then set it down as if leaving a piece of memory there. Outside, the world kept roaring about her. Reporters knocked on Iron Forge's doors. Marco Vitali posted a new video. I saw her spar with my own eyes. No flash, no show, just right and real. Lucas Koenig announced a month-long hiatus to rebuild from scratch. Clara Hoffman fell uncharacteristically silent online. Her last story was a blurred shot of the empty gym floor, no caption. But Elena? She remained the small woman in a faded hoodie, walking snowy Kreuzberg alleys, entering class at dawn and leaving after the streetlights came on. And every day another child arrived, eyes bright with the same question. Can you teach me how to be strong? Elena would always answer in that low, steady voice. You don't need to shout. You just need to step firmly. A sleek sports center on the edge of Mobit. Glass walls, white ceiling lights, the scent of new tatami mats blending with adhesive glue and strong black coffee. Outside, snow continued to fall, powdering the transparent dome with a soft white glaze. Inside, athletes in blue and brown belts moved quietly through warm-ups. The referee's whistle echoed through sharp, tense matches, short but fierce. On the guest of honor row, Elena Moro sat with her hands loosely folded. Beside her, Coach Dieter Kraus, a former ADCC champion, a female referee from Stuttgart, and a German Grappling Federation representative. Elena wore a crisp white shirt, light jacket, hair neatly tied back. No hoodie. No gloves. No mat. At least, not officially. A shout came from the left side of the stands. Her students had arrived. Leading the group was Sarah, waving with both hands. Behind her, Yasmin, Clara, the younger, and a few newer girls from the self-defense class. All bundled in thick coats, clutching nylon gym bags. One stood out, Layla, age 14, the only one registered to compete in the under 52 kg white belt division. Elena nodded slightly but kept her eyes on the mats. Every armbar, every pin, she wasn't analyzing with her brain but with muscle memory. Each movement clicked like an old reflex waking up. Layla's match was called. She stepped onto the mat, heart racing. Her GI was a bit too loose, her belt tied unevenly. Her opponent, Bianca Mertens, another white belt, but from a renowned gym in Frankfurt. Taller, stronger, and already smirking with the confidence of someone used to dominating. When they bowed, Bianca sneered. Don't worry. I won't humiliate you. Won't even take a full minute. Layla clenched her fists but stayed silent. Elena sat up straighter, thumb pressing lightly against her index knuckle, a habit from her own days on the mat. The match began. Bianca attacked immediately, going for an aggressive overhook, trying to bulldoze Layla down with strength. But Layla remembered. Don't use muscle. Use technique. She pivoted her hips, anchored her left foot, and snared Bianca's wrist into a clean arm drag. Gasps from the stands. Bianca stumbled but recovered quickly, pressing down hard. She jammed her elbow into Layla's chin, bending the rules against facial pressure. Elena stood. Ref. Face. Her voice, the first time raised all day. The head ref glanced over and issued a warning. Bianca smirked. As Layla relaxed her guard for a breath, she hissed. Girls like you come here just to learn how to be victims. Layla's eyes burned, but didn't tear. Elena clenched her fists. Not today. Bianca moved in for a wrist lock from top position, risky against an unsteady base. But something sparked in Layla. She turned her left knee, rolled her shoulder, and reversed. Reverse mount. Knees tight. She locked in a head-arm triangle, the exact technique Elena had drilled with her in their last private session. Bianca tensed, held. Tap, tap, tap. The room erupted not from the submission itself, but from who had done it. The underestimated. The overlooked. Elena exhaled and sat down. Layla didn't celebrate. She bowed, then stepped off the mat, glancing at her coach as if to ask, "Did I do it right?" Elena nodded. "Better than right." Behind the main seating, a cluster of older athletes murmured. Thomas Brandt, head coach from Frankfurt, pointed toward Elena, voice low but audible. Who even was she? An amateur coach for self-defense kids, now sitting like she's some legend. Someone beside him muttered. One viral clip. That's all it takes these days. Welcome to the social media era. Another chuckled. Let her step on the mat again. Let's see if she survives. Elena rose. No rush. No anger. She walked to the event table, voice calm. I'd like to register for an open exhibition match if there's a time slot left. The organizer, a young woman with an iPad, looked up, surprised. You want to compete? Dieter, mid-conversation with the head ref, turned sharply, eyebrows furrowed. Elena. I'm not doing this for attention, she said, still on the iPad. I'm doing it because someone said, let's see if she survives. The match was added to the final program. Opponent, Lars Vogel. Heavyweight, brown belt. Assistant coach, Frankfurt. Bronze medalist at nationals. Height, 1.85 meters. Weight twice Elena's. Whispers spread. What is she thinking? She's gonna get crushed. Just looking for attention. Elena changed into her GI simple, no logos. She tied her hair, removed her glasses, placed them in a plastic case. She didn't need to see clearly. Her body remembered. The match began. Lars didn't underestimate her. He knew Elena wasn't ordinary, but he trusted his strength, his technical edge. Elena took half a step back. No grip, no touch. Lars lunged in with shoulder pressure. Elena slipped away. No retaliation. One beat. Two. Third beat. Lars rotated for a trip. Elena stepped back, pivoted, hooked deep, caught his knee, shifted his balance using nothing but a scissor motion. Perfect scissor sweep. No force, just timing. Lars fell. Elena transitioned smoothly to mount. No celebration. Then flowed into an armbar. Clean, soft. No snap, no threat. Lars tapped. Immediately, she let go, bowed, never faced the crowd. Dieter checked the time. 1 minute, 11 seconds. The arena was silent. This time, no one laughed. No one scoffed. Only acknowledgement. Heavy, quiet, undeniable. Like the sound of a bell on tatami. That night, Elena left the arena quietly. She declined congratulations. Skipped the honor dinner. Refused the souvenir plaque. She simply picked up her bag, pulled on her old, faded hoodie. And this time, when she passed the Frankfurt squad, no one said a word. They only bowed. A week after the tournament, the snow lay thicker. Berlin had entered the coldest stretch of the year. No one walked unless they had to. The world shrank into coats, into phone screens, into the fogged cafe windows that caught each breath. Yet, in a small corner of Kreuzberg, the lights of Community Center number 24 still burned. The old wood-floored room wasn't large, just big enough for a class of 15. The walls were chalk-scribbled with fist sketches, hearts, smiley faces, and the wobbly motto, "We are stronger," in German, Turkish, and Vietnamese. In the middle, Elena Moreau knelt on the mat, demonstrating how to protect yourself when you fall flat on your back. Her hair was tied up. The familiar faded hoodie still draped her shoulders like an unchanging habit. At her side stood Layla, now called Big Sister Layla by the younger kids, showing Sarah how to frame against a knee pin. Bend your elbows, don't lock them straight, like Coach Elena taught. Elena watched from a step away. No corrections, no lectures, just a quiet nod each time a student got it right. She no longer needed to speak. Across the room, James, the janitor carpenter, was rehanging the small wooden plaque a bit higher, out of playful reach. Beneath it, Elena had pinned a fresh sheet of white paper, purple-inked in her own hand. You don't need to shout. Just take a firm step. Elena's self-defense class. Class finished. The children flocked to the lockers for coats, chirping like fledglings about to launch into the cold night. Elena reminded them softly, scarves up, and walk in groups. Suddenly Sarah ran back and pressed a thin braided cord into Elena's hand. You have to wear this today. Layla, Yasmin, and I made it. 3 threads. Blue, red, yellow, woven together. In the center, a tiny wooden bead carved with the word, Zoe. Sarah's first day misspelling of Moreau that had somehow stuck. Elena studied it, then nodded and slipped it around her wrist. The kids left. Wind hissed down the hallway. Elena rolled up mats, wiped the floor, killed the lights. At the exit she paused. An elderly woman waited in the foyer. Silver hair, gray wool coat, a worn paper bag in hand. She had once coached Elena, the former head of France's national jiu-jitsu team. You still live the way you trained, she said in warm French. Quiet but with weight. Elena bowed slightly, a small smile. No introductions needed. The coach produced a small object. A 2016 European silver medal. Inscription on the back. E. Moreau -57 kilograms. Respect through technique. They found it in the Federation's storeroom. Perhaps you don't need it, but you should keep it. Elena took it, wordless, squeezing it gently. Next morning, the German Grappling Federation's website ran a headline, honoring Elena Moreau, the silent icon. Once an athlete, now a cultivator of technique for the next generation. She embodies the hardest lesson of all. Real power isn't the biggest punch but a presence that cannot be ignored, even without a voice. They invited her to serve as technical advisor for next season. Elena did not answer immediately. Weekend. At the center, Layla rehearsed a bridge and roll with fresh students. Yasmin corrected little Clara's footwork. Sarah, the girl who once flinched at her own shadow, practiced a neon belly hold, face solemn. Elena leaned in the doorway. She said nothing, just watched. In her gaze was a peace never found on a competition mat, never captured in a viral clip, never minted in medals or plaques. That quiet itself was the center. Outside, the sky remained heavy and gray. The snow had not melted. The wider world hadn't changed. But inside this small room, a new generation had already begun. Silent, yet certain.